Roger Corman, Mask of Red Death. Are you a fan of that movie?
Yeah, The Mask of the Red Death is my favorite of the Poe movies.
Even more so than Pit and the Pendulum.
Yeah, the other one, I'm a big fan of Roger Corman. I'm not the biggest fan of the Poe films. They seem too set-bound. They seem too creaky. They seem too dusty, with the exception of Mask of the Red Death. I'm not a fan of gothic horror. I'm not a fan of movies about the guy or the woman that lives in the castle and there's the painting on the wall, and the painting on the wall is what's causing all the thing. As much as I'm a big fan of Roger Corman movies, I'm not a fan of his Poe films. I think the exception to those Poe movies is Mask of the Red Death. Because one, he's not using Floyd Crosby again. He's got Nicolas Roeg as his cinematographer. He's got Nicolas Roeg as his cinematographer. His visual scheme was able to explode on Mask of the Red Death. It doesn't look cheap. It's not set bound as the rest of them. Lots of extras. He's able to kind of explode his visual sense, and he probably has the biggest budget he has on all of them. So his whole, I think he shot that in England. So the entire style is exploded by the time he does Mask of the Red Death. And that's actually quite horrifying, actually. I think that actually was probably, at least for what Corman wanted to do, I think it was his biggest budget. The Secret Invasion might have had more money for that. But compared to the other Poe movies, and Vincent Price is playing much more sinister and realistic than he is in the other ones. It's as far as the Vincent Price performances in those type of monster movies, not the fun ones, but those type of monster movies, it's there is performance in Mask of the Red Death where he's just, you can't believe how sadistic he is. It's Price's sadism that's horrifying, not the Poe stuff. It's just the fact that he's such a sadistic ruler is what's terrifying.
Hello, this is Quentin Tarantino, and you're watching Tarantino Takes Over Weekend on Sky Indie. Coming up next is actually one of the best movies that has a two-director team in the film, is the film Performance, directed by both Donald Cammell and Nicolas Roeg. This film is one of the greatest rock movies of all time, and one of the best films that deals with this period, all right, that's kind of Carnaby Street, psychedelic things, slightly starting to go wrong, all right, the way that, Woodstock gave over to Altamont. This is the bad side of the psychedelic 60s dream. Basically from 1970 on, you started seeing the bad sides of stuff. This is a terrific movie. One of the things I've always loved about this film, though, is James Fox's performance in the film. One of the things that's really interesting to me is he actually gives my favorite British gangster performance of that type. And what's really interesting is I read an interview with James Fox where, his accent, everything is perfect, but I read an interview with James Fox where he said that he didn't know anybody like this. This was a complete, figment of his imagination, how he built the character. But it actually is one of the best British gangster Cockney killers in the history of cinema.
Well, you should see the motor.
See the what?
My motor. We had a little argument with a cement wall on the way up from Dover.
So stay tuned for Mick Jagger and James Fox in Donald Cammell, very sad, tragic Donald Cammell, and Nicolas Roeg's performance.